Right, everyone, Saturday and a bit of a bonus video for you today. Given that we've got such a big game tomorrow, I wanted to put something out talking exclusively about the match at Tynecastle. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit better about the fixture than you maybe were earlier on in the week. Hopefully Thursday has given you a bit of a spring in your step. However, as has been the case with Celtic recently, any good news has kind of been overshadowed maybe shortly after when yesterday we received some pretty bad injury news. So we're going to tackle all of that today, going to touch on Hearts a little bit as well, because you may not be too familiar with their personnel, key players, etc. So I'm going to do a bit of that, discuss our Celtic team, discuss the injury stuff, and a few other things as well. Big thanks to Practical CBT for sponsoring today's video. Practical CBT, quick practical workouts for your mental health. No press conferences yesterday. Celtic did have Sky Sports cameras at Barrowfield, which appears to be open now. There was some event they had in conjunction with JD yesterday, and Sky Sports were kind of doing I think Luke Shanley was kind of going about with a microphone. He spoke to Callum McGregor, Anthony Ralston and James Forrest, obviously three homegrown Celtic players. Nothing major coming from any of those guys, the usual things you would expect. We also did have Brendan Rodgers speaking to Sky Sports as he does ahead of televised Sky Sports matches. So no press conference, but we did have a couple of clips coming out. And the big takeaway that you will be aware of by now is an update on Cameron Carter-Vickers, who did hobble off actually after full time on Thursday against Sturm Graz. The update from Brendan Rodgers is not good. He said he looks like he's done his Achilles, which could be anywhere between 3 and 5 months. We're just awaiting confirmation of that. So CCV will be missing until, try to do the kind of maths with the months, I think at least February, you would think. I think 5 months would take us up to like late March or early April. So we're looking at Carter-Vickers missing the majority of the rest of the season, which is obviously a blow, without doubt. I don't think it's like as much of a blow as it would have been a year ago, or like under Ange Postecoglou, for example, where it felt like the defence kind of fell apart if Carter-Vickers wasn't there. There's no doubt that Cameron Carter-Vickers hasn't been quite as good in recent times. Certainly this season, he's not been at his usual consistent top level. But clearly he's still going to be a mess. But as the manager said, it's an opportunity for someone else to step in. A bit like how Liam Scales did a couple of years ago, and Liam Scales is still stuck around and is playing quite well at the moment. So who will it be who the manager goes to replace Carter-Vickers on that right-hand side of the central defence? Between Dane Murray and Austin Trusty, Jemai Simpson-Pusey's also there. He feels a wee bit out of it at the moment, but maybe there'll be an opportunity for him to sneak in if he gets some more games under his belt. But I think it's definitely between Dane Murray and Austin Trusty at the moment. Obviously, pros of Austin Trusty, far more experience. I seem to remember he played a few games with Liam Scales at the start of last season, and we fared pretty well, while Carter-Vickers was missing for some reason. I think pros for Dane Murray, he's younger. I think has done quite well. There's been a few kind of harsh critics of Dane Murray, and a few comments I've seen, people saying, he's really not up to much. I think he's looked pretty good whenever he's played this season anyway, and Brendan Rodgers really rates him. And it's kind of felt, I think, like Dane Murray is the backup to Cameron Carter-Vickers on the right-hand side. So that's my hunch. My hunch is that Dane Murray will start tomorrow for us at Tynecastle. However, I'm clearly not going to be too surprised if Austin Trusty plays. The only thing I've got in my mind maybe going against Dane Murray is if it's like Colby Donovan at right back, which again is another debate and another decision for the manager to make. Having, Donovan and Murray on that right-hand side of defence, not a lot of experience there. Going into what is such a big game, even more so when you have like Johnny Kenny up front. So yeah, decisions for the manager to make. There was interestingly no kind of update posted on Kelechi Iheanacho and Alistair Johnston, who both hobbled off in the first half on Thursday. The latest we have on both of them was from the manager shortly after full time on Thursday, and he confirmed that they both had hamstring injuries, and I think he said that it didn't look particularly good. So we don't really have timescales for those two, but I think it's pretty clear that neither of them are going to feature against Hearts. Probably neither of them are going to feature against Rangers at Hampden next week either, if we're realistic. So yeah, with that, and obviously Jota still out, and Dies and Maida, I can't even, how do you shrug your shoulders? Is it that? I've actually forgotten how to do it. I should probably ask Michael Nicholson. Who knows what's happening with Dies and Maida? Brendan Rodgers a little bit vague about that post-match on Thursday. So yeah, I don't think Dyson's going to be around tomorrow. See, we're really down to the bare bones. So fair to say there's a hell of a lot for Brendan Rodgers to decide with regards to starting lineup for the game at Tynecastle. Let's just start then with what we could consider the players who are locked in, and there may even be some debate about this, but Kasper Schmeichel is going to be the goalkeeper. Now, again, this isn't necessarily the team I would play. It's a team I think we are going to see. Kasper in goals. Liam Scales is going to be left centre-back. I think the midfield is pretty locked on. Now, you might disagree with that, but I just feel given how that midfield functioned and the fact it was a hell of a lot better against Sturm Graz, and I think, clearly Arne Engels has to start this game. If he doesn't, we might as well all just, give up in this season. Engels has to be in that team. McGregor's going to be, and I just don't think it'll be Bernard or McCowan. I think he'll go Hatate. So I think it'll be McGregor, Engels, Hatate, and Sebastian Tinecti is nailed on to start on the left. Other than that, though, if we start filling the other positions, right back, I'm not sure what he's going to do. I feel Donovan came on Thursday, so that would suggest that the manager sees him ahead of Ralston, but also, maybe he's kind of keeping Ralston and always had Sunday in mind for Ralston and a bit more experience. I've just got this weird feeling coming from somewhere that Ralston's going to start, but I'm going to put Donovan in here. I think it's maybe 60-40 in favour of Donovan. As I say, I'm going to go Dane Murray, centre-back, next to Liam Scales. Left-back, again, another huge debate to be had there. Now, you might be screaming Kieran Tierney, as a certainty. Kieran Tierney hasn't started 3 games in a week yet since returning to Celtic. I think the closest he came was a month or so ago, where he started 2 games. I think Partick Thistle in the Cup, and then Savina Zvezda a few days after that. And then for the game after that, the following weekend, he dropped out. I think it was at home to Hibs, and Sirachi started that game. So Tierney's played every minute of the past 2 games at Dens Park and against Sturm Graz. Does he have a third game in him, or will Marcelo Sirachi come into things? It's such a big game, and I kind of feel like Brendan Rodgers would want to go for Tierney, clearly. But there's been so much chat about, managing Kieran Tierney, and I think it's a lot to ask him to go again, especially when, there was a decent turnaround, I think, between Dundee and Sturm Graz. What would that be? 4 days, over 4 days, whereas from Sturm Graz to Tynecastle, this is riveting, 2.5 days, so slightly less of a turnaround. So I feel like Sirachi will probably start at left back. I mean, that defence, if that is the case, Donovan, Murray, Scales and Sirachi. God, that would have been a bit of a shocker if you showed me that a year ago. Elsewhere, midfield, as I say, locked in. I think it'll be McGregor, Hatate, Engels. I think Benji Nygren starts again on the right. I did see some people suggesting that he could play up front, and I think he did play there occasionally for Nordsjælland. But I think it will be Johnny Kenny up front with Shin Yamada on the bench. By the way, Shin Yamada hasn't featured since Ibrox, and that's 8 games ago. So he's coming out of nowhere, and is going to have to be on the bench because we don't really have any other strikers. So it's a bit of a nightmare all round. We really are down to the bare bones. But yeah, just for anyone listening on the podcast, my predicted team for Tynecastle is Kasper Schmeichel, Colby Donovan, Dane Murray, Liam Scales and Marcelo Sirachi. Callum McGregor, Arne Engels, Rail Hatate, Benji Nygren, Sebastian Tenecte, and Johnny Kenny. Is that team good enough to win at Tynecastle? Well, it's going to be a challenge. Hearts are the best team in Scotland right now. They are top of the league, 5 points clear of us. They've only dropped 2 points in the league all season. And even right now, they're on a run of 5 wins in a row. They haven't actually conceded a goal in, I think, roughly 450 minutes on the pitch, if you include stoppage time. So they're scoring goals, they're not conceding goals. As you would expect with like a confident team, they are incredibly settled. They've not got like the distraction of European football, midweek football. It's just kind of weekend to weekend generally for Hearts. So their team has tended to stay, the same throughout this season so far, and they are, very confident. Just in terms of the kind of predicted team for Hearts, because I think there's a few names here that you won't know. Now, for example, this is how little I've been paying attention to Hearts this season. I probably should pay more attention, but we've had enough going on with ourselves and my life. I thought Craig Gordon was still the Hearts goalkeeper. He's not. It's a guy called Alexander Schwallow. Again, another shrug. 33-year-old, experienced German goalkeeper. He was last at Union Berlin. He's played with a few clubs in Germany. So he seems like quite a steady goalkeeper. Back four, so they play like a 4-4-2 Hearts. Back four, Irish guy, Oisin McEntee. 24 years old. He was last at Walsall, left them at the end of his contract at the end of last season. More familiar names, Craig Halkett and Stuart Finlay in the centre. Halkett did come off 20 minutes from the end of their win at Kilmarnock last week. I believe it was like a back issue. However, Derek McInnes was very quick to say that was more precautionary, and I think he's been training this week. So he should start. Stuart Finlay will know, former Celtic youngster. Stephen Kingsley at left back. We know what he can do from set pieces. Cammy Devlin, Benny Beningame in the middle. Tenacious, I think it's fair to say, both of them. They have Harry Milne on the right. They got him, I think, from Partick Thistle. On the left, Alexandros Kizaridis, Greek winger. He is quite a talent from what I hear. Claudio Braga, who's the one people are talking about most. He's a 25-year-old Portuguese forward. Got him from the second tier in Norway. He scored a number of goals for them so far this season. And he plays up front with Lawrence Shankland. So, I mean, you've obviously got the whole Jamestown analytics thing going where they kind of sign a number of players who, on the face of it, might not look like they're up to too much, but they kind of have something going with the underlying numbers. And it's clearly working so far. They're a good side. They're a confident side. They're a settled side, which, those final two things you can't say about Celtic right now. We're not settled and we're not particularly confident, although Thursday might have added a bit of confidence. So it's going to be a real challenge against this Hearts side. But we do have a bit of history, I think, of going into these games against teams who are on the up and have a lot of confidence and a lot of hype. And Brendan Rodgers quite enjoys, putting these teams down a peg or two and reminding them that we're the dominant team in Scotland. I genuinely think Brendan Rodgers and Callum McGregor and other guys take a lot of satisfaction, in doing that. There's hype about these teams. Hearts deserve hype, but let's not forget that we are quite a good team, usually, and maybe not quite at the moment. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple of examples. There was that game at Murrayfield a number of years ago in the League Cup semi when they had the Hampden mix-up and we played them in Edinburgh, and Hearts sold like 30,000 tickets for that game. We were being questioned at the time. They were in a really good run, I think, under Craig Levein. We turned up, we battered them 3-0. Aberdeen last season, okay, Celtic Park was a draw. We should have won that game, but a few weeks later, we play Aberdeen at Hampden. We batter them 6-0, and Aberdeen kind of go off a cliff. So, yeah, I think maybe Celtic being written off here isn't a bad thing. My only worry, and you'll probably have the same worry, as, just the amount of players we're missing. You would feel a lot better if we're going into this game with Iheanacho up front and maybe Dyson in the team and Alistair Johnson and Cameron Carter-Vickers and Jota. Obviously, we're missing a lot of quality, and you wonder if there's enough quality there to go and win this game. But yeah, I think Celtic will be motivated for this one. Right, just a few of your comments that came in on yesterday's video talking about the game and things generally. Aidan O'Brien saying, thought the captain was much more like his old self. Hopefully more of that to come. I wonder what it is that makes this squad perform better when we're away from the tried and tested. Best performances in the last few months have been Sturm Graz, Partick, Falkirk and Aberdeen away in May. I don't know if you're talking about like the kind of tried and tested lineup and other players coming in, or if you're talking about kind of going away from the league and having these cup games. But it does seem like we have a lot of players there kind of itching to play, and I think when you put guys like Arnie Engels in, you see a bit of a difference, and I think that's why we've been calling for these guys to come in. So hopefully that bodes well for tomorrow. And maybe if you have like Austin Trusty or Dane Murray playing instead of Cameron Carter-Vickers, as harsh as it is, maybe you get a bit of an improvement there, because Carter-Vickers, like the Carter-Vickers that we all love, and like I love the guy, he's been immense for us. Carter-Vickers this season hasn't been good, so maybe actually having someone like Trusty or Murray playing could actually improve that defence, if you get me. And yeah, you maybe say the same about, other positions. Engels, for example, whatever he does at right wing. William McLaughlin, sorry, there are too many false dawns since before the cup final, so still not expecting a result. That's fair to feel like that. I feel like that. A number of you will feel like that. Like, as football fans, it's difficult not to be kind of fickle and put so much of how you feel based on the most recent game. And it's mad you see so much of that. We had folk, and I'm not criticising here, but we had folk in the comments yesterday saying Brendan Rodgers is a genius for those car comments on Sunday's got the team going. And it's like, it's just so funny because a couple of days earlier nobody was saying that. So again, tomorrow, like, it's going to be the same. If we win that game, people are going to say we're back, Brendan Rodgers is back, he's got the team firing again. If we lose it, we're going to have what we had after Dundee, probably even worse, given that we would have lost another game. So yeah, I think just on your point, yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves. It was one game on Thursday. The team have to go and back it up on Sunday. We need to see another performance. We maybe need to see an even better performance, given that we're away from home. And I kind of expect Hearts to be a tougher game than Sturm Graz in a weird way, because I thought Sturm Graz were pretty poor. Declan McKenzie kind of along the same line saying, though I'm chuffed with last night's result, they were not a very good team, and I am afraid we might be getting ahead of ourselves after that performance, which was better than anything we have seen this season. All comes down to Sunday. A loss is a big deal and would leave us in more fear about the semi-final and how that could pan out. James Cotter saying, we really need to convert more of these gilt-edged chances. We were lucky they hit the post at 2-0 down. Not sure we'd have recovered, but better performance. Unleash Yamada. Let's see what he can do. Yeah, that's my concern for tomorrow, is like, can we create the big opportunities when they arrive? Missed a lot of chances on Thursday. I didn't mention this yesterday, but our XG, I think, was like, depending on where you get your XG from, it was like between like 4.05 and like 4.25. I worked out, I think it was the 5th highest XG of any team in European competition that midweek there. And I think there's 108 teams playing in Europe across the Champions League, Europa League and Conference League, and we had like the 5th highest chance creation, which basically is what XG is. So that tells you something was better on Thursday. It also tells you that we're nowhere near clinical enough. Like, we missed so many chances. Kenny, Nygren multiple times, Hatate, other guys as well. Like, and the 2 goals we score, one's a great finish from Liam Scales, brilliant finish, showing them how it should be done. And the other, Nygren, really can't miss that. Great ball from Engels, but both kind of from set pieces. So, yeah, can we create the same amount of chances? Probably not, but even if we create half of those chances, we'll probably be happy. We just need to to take them when they come, and I do have doubts over that. I do have doubts over Negrin. As much as he scored goals, is he clinical enough? Kenny, I've got huge doubts over, and I hope he shuts me up. I'd love nothing more than to be saying, Hamish, you're an absolute idiot. Johnny Kenny, well done. There's a couple of goals for you. But I've just got doubts whether he takes that big chance when it comes. My light just died. Don't know if Johnny Kenny's in charge of the lighting or whatever. Show's over, everyone. No, and Sebastian Tynecasse's not really getting chances, but I'm just not convinced he's going to take a chance if it comes. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but yeah, it's a big one. Officials for tomorrow. Referee is Stephen McLean, assisted by Graham Stewart and David Room. Andrew Dallas is on VAR duties, and David Dickinson is the assistant VAR. It's a noon kickoff tomorrow. The game is live on Sky Sports main event. And yeah, let's see what Celtic we get. A lot of chat about Hearts are going to win this game. Some chat about no, Celtic are going to turn up and win it. Quite often when that's going on, you sometimes end up with a draw. So that is my official prediction for tomorrow. But, it's a massive game. I'm looking forward to it. I've got a buzz for it. Hopefully you're the same. I'll be back first thing on Monday looking back on it.